You're listening to Pop This, the podcast where two women talk about everything pop culture. Here are your hosts, Lisa Christiansen and Andrea Warner.
So I'm going to hit you with some information that you might not be prepared for.
I'm never prepared, Lisa.
Many people aren't. I think it will surprise you on so many fronts. So it is the 30th TV anniversary of a few things. Quantum Leap.
All right.
Baywatch.
Yeah, okay.
Saved by the Bell.
Wow.
Family Matters.
Oh.
Seinfeld.
All right.
You know, all shows more in your memories, reboots, whatever.
Sure.
But one show continues on like it never stopped. America's Funniest Home Videos.
It never
AFV.
stopped.
30 years.
That's sickening.
30 years.
That's a super depressing indictment on our society.
That when it started, Bob Saget, who hosted at the beginning, was still on Full House.
Oh my God, you're right.
Double duty.
Does that, so is America's Funniest Home Videos, one, our earliest reality television competition, and two, kind of a competition because videos are competing for what's the funniest?
$10,000.
Yeah. Is it still the same prize?
Yeah.
Okay. And so inflation, we can talk about that as well. But also just for, so it's
it's
the
ABC's longest running non scripted show other than news.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
And it's actually been renewed for a 31 season or 31st season. There will be 31 seasons and maybe more. I don't know. I mean,
I guess the only thing that's great is that we know Sesame Street is longer running. So that's something.
Yes.
That's something.
Yes.
I did watch a lot of America's Funniest Home Videos when I was a kid. I remember watching it with my parents. And,
sure. I mean,
Did you love the show when you were a kid?
You know, I don't know that I ever loved the show.
Even today, you will get a laugh because sometimes it comes on. Yeah. I find it and I will watch it. Normal. And I had to say that because Andrea's, no, not normal.
Andrea Gin's looking at you like, no.
Okay, normal when you're in a terrible place. Just terrible. The corny jokes, the adorable dogs, right? The men getting hit in the balls over and over, strangely. I don't know how many of those videos they get sent in. Do they use them all? Are there some that they don't? Could they do just a whole week long presentation of just men getting hit in the balls? I don't know.
Well, on this note, I would like to nominate it as the most feminist and misandrist show in the history of our television watching. That it's just a constant, if it's constantly kicks in the balls, it's the most misandrist show, and it's one kick at the patriarchy at a time.
It's been running long enough that a child at the beginning of the run could have hit their dad in the balls and now be a dad themselves and get hit in the balls.
What a beautiful, beautiful full circle. And honestly, I mean, my mom was a teen mom. Maybe there's even a grandfather now who was a kid in the beginning and is now a grandfather.
Well, that actually made me kind of sad because sometimes they've had those montages of old people falling. They make them. That happens. They're probably all gone now, those people.
But it's also just if you played it on this continuous loop for 30 years, some kind of metaphor for humanity of keeping repeating the mistakes in history, repeating itself over and over again, of people never learning that if you do this, you'll get hit in the balls. If you give your kid a baseball bat or whatever.
Yeah, don't get a piñata.
No one learns. No one changes.
No, and you know what else is spooky? You cannot tell what year it is. Ever. Ever.
Have the videos gotten the videos? So the videos have not gotten better quality, moving from a VHS camcorder to an iPhone.
You know, I don't know because I don't know how long they're kept and then make a montage. You know how they always have to have a kind of a bit of a theme for the thing.
Yeah.
So it's dogs reading books. So have they been saving?
Oh yeah.
6 dogs reading books.
Oh man, you know what? I would love to interview a producer from America's Funniest Home Videos.
Oh, see, you're intrigued now. Oh,
I am intrigued.
Yeah.
Well, because I'm also now thinking it literally is the longest running show against the patriarchy. So I'm kind of okay with that. But I also want to think about how they figure out who gets like nominated for like funniest video at the end of the thing, I always used to think this seems political because like one of them is actually funny and then the other two are not funny.
Is it only because the people could come? I used to think that too. Like they can't, because maybe it's hard to find these other people because they're not available.
I bet it's people that are just like local. They don't have a travel budget, so they only are picking people from like within like 1,000. I don't know, feet of LA or something.
But if it's still running, it can't cost any money to make that show. It's all free content.
It is all free content.
Except for a host and obviously the people writing it.
I mean, Tom Bergeron probably was making a pretty penny at the end.
I'm sure he was, but it's not my draw. I mean,
no, for sure. I like him better than Bob Saget.
How about Carlton though? Would you like to see Carlton?
I like Carlton.
Yeah.
Yeah, Alfonso Ribeiro. I like him. You know what? I want Alfonso Ribeiro to have a job.
And he does, and he has for the past few years now. Since 2015, he's been hosting.
I used to watch him on Silver Spoon.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
So you're going back. You're going back.
Yeah, I can't help it. I always.
Yet you have not watched any of America's Funniest Home Videos with him.
I mean, I don't have television. I don't have cable anymore.
They're on YouTube.
Really?
Oh, I looked them up because here's the other thing. They're also in other countries. Denmark had one. Mexico, Russia, Turkey, Italy.
Yeah.
Well, what if that's America's greatest export?
What if?
Oh my God.
Yeah. But the reassuring thing is we all find falling down funny. No matter what country we're in.
I have to admit, like I do often laugh when people get hurt. Like that's a first line of reaction for me, unless it's like a serious injury.
Well, no, they don't. That's the thing.
Yeah, they don't
this
do like serious injuries.
Curated for you.
I know, and so I appreciate that.
Yes.
But yeah, like even like even now, like if someone fell down in front of me, as long as I was sure that they were mostly fine, my instinct would be to laugh as I'm helping them up.
I've done it.
Yeah.
And I have children, and I've hurt them.
Yes.
And I've laughed at the same time.
Yeah, I think it's a nervous response more than like a pleasurable response.
Or else it's just funny.
Oh, okay.
I mean, yes, maybe sometimes it's nervous.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Yeah.
But sometimes it's just funny. Because what's funny is unexpected, right? You can't like tell, I'm going to laugh, right? It's unexpected.
I remember my maternal grandmother, she also has this issue, and she laughs all the time when people get hurt, even when people get seriously hurt.
Oh.
And one time, my grandfather... and it's still a family story told to this day, even though my grandfather has been dead for like 6 years. He leaned back in a rocking chair, like kind of violently.
Classic.
And, yeah. But no, it's not going to go where you think it goes.
Oh.
His elbow hit a bookcase that was apparently kind of shoddily like assembled, and he ended up with a giant piece of the bookcase in his arm. My grandmother could not stop laughing long enough to call the ambulance. She
How?
like her
How did that happen?
I don't know. He hit it hard, and the bookcase crumbled, and the shard went in his yeah. He ended up with like a whole piece of bookcase in his arm. My grandmother literally peed her pants laughing.
What?
Yeah, yeah.
Oh,
So
man.
she's a fan of AFE then. This must
I
be
don't
like
know how
her
much she
most
watches
favorite
it.
show.
I'm positive we did watch it at their home when we were younger.
It's not like the hardest part. Like
I love that you also go with the acronym immediately. Like I never would go with the I mean, yeah.
The hard thing is just knowing that those people, because these young men stunts, right?
Yeah.
If there's women doing it, mostly they're drunk and falling.
Mm-hmm.
That's the general, and that's how they curate.
Mm-hmm.
But the guy's doing some kind of weird parkour thing, right?
Yeah.
Where they're going to jump off walls and they hit their face. It's
Yeah.
I think they might seriously be hurt.
Yeah.
But it's hard not to laugh at their complete stupidity for doing that. One guy trying to like crack a window with his head in a car window. Just continuously.
Just enjoy that concussion, buddy.
Yeah, for your life.
Yeah.
Because you basically just done like a football team for a year.
I mean, this is not the cleanest segue we've ever had, but
There's no, you don't, what we should do is just like
I feel like
halt.
it's just like, yeah, we're talking about a pretty fine movie.
Yeah.
And we've done it
But there's some humor in
a little
it.
bit of a disservice.
there is some humor in it.
There is some humor in
There
it.
is some humor,
And it
but-
is dark humor.
Not pratfalls.
Not
No,
pratfalls, but
Yeah.
but we're laughing at the face of tragedy.
Laughing at the Face of Tragedy is, I mean, that is a re-edit of America's Funniest Home Videos.
There
I'm
we
just gonna
go.
say.
If you're looking for a new title to get maybe a more sophisticated audience, that might be where you want to go.
I'm Andrea Warner.
I'm Lisa Christiansen.
And you're listening to Pop This.
And we have a special guest. She is a special guest, but she is with us every episode.
Yeah. She's
like how special.
so special.
So special.
We always want you to literally be on the podcast, and this is like you only come on for episodes that you really care about.
Yeah, like I, Tanya.
Yeah,
Little
I
Women.
that.
Little Women.
Yeah.
And
your own interests.
Yeah, exactly.
you're like, I don't want to watch most of the stuff you guys talk about.
Every time I come after, I'm like, did you watch this? You always go, God, no.
Why would I watch the stuff I'm watching?
This old weird movie that no one likes.
But this is extraordinary. So we are here to talk about The Farewell.
Yeah. Which is, I guess, a couple of months old in the theaters.
Yeah.
2 months, maybe 2 or 3 months.
But I feel like it's just kept growing.
It did, yeah.
'Cause, like, its audience has expanded. It was originally allegedly going to only have like a week run in Vancouver, and it's been on since then. Like, and when I saw it last week, I mean, this will be, we're pre-recording a little bit, but when I saw it, the audience was still like half full, which was pretty good, especially for like a Tuesday night.
Yeah, I think I saw it a couple of months ago, and it was pretty full.
Yeah.
In the theater. So,
yeah, me too.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I'm so excited that we're going to talk about it today because I love it so much.
Yeah, it was wonderful.
Yeah, it's one of the rare movies that the three of us are like together, like, oh, I love this.
Yeah, I did.
Yeah.
I felt good and cozy and very hungry after this movie.
I felt good and just full of weeping. My God, I cried in this movie. Probably gonna cry here while we talk about it today. It's gonna be like just what a treat this film is.
So should we tell people what it's about?
Yes.
Oh no, you should know.
End
of podcast.
Just guess, and we'll talk about. Oh no, yes, please.
Okay, The Farewell. And gosh, when I said about laughing, this line, probably if people have seen the trailer, they know this line. The Farewell. Chinese people have a saying: when people get cancer, they die.
Oh my God.
So there we go. So background. The Farewell is a 2019 American comedy drama film written and directed by Lulu Wang, based in part of her own life experiences. The film stars Awkwafina. Okay, I'm going to butcher the rest of these names here.
Sima,
Dinah Lin, Zhao Zhuzhen, Lu Hong, and Zhang Yongbo.
Yeah.
Oh,
that
was pretty good.
That was great.
Well, I am from Vancouver, so maybe I've had some exposure. Wang has publicly shared a version of this story before at NPR's This American Life podcast, and here she's put a tragic comic spin on it, casting Awkwafina as a young woman caught between countries who doesn't seem to identify with American culture, but also doesn't understand, or at least agree with, the Chinese custom of protecting relatives from realizing when they're ill. So my first question.
I didn't know this was a custom.
I did not know it. That's what I wanted. This is obviously that's why she made the movie.
Yeah. I didn't know this was a custom. Is this a custom?
I mean,
I'm not like asking you to be our like authority on it.
I can't speak for all Chinese people, but
please.
I think it's not something. It's interesting because when I was doing research and reading about this film, Lulu Wang talks a lot about how Chinese culture treats death very differently than North American culture. Mm-hmm. And when I thought about it, it's so interesting because I've never really sat down and thought about like my family and, when my grandparents passed, it was kind of like that. Like they didn't tell me that my grandfather, like I knew he was sick, but they never kind of told me he was going to die soon. Mm-hmm. And he just, passed away. And like, it was very shocking to me.
How old were you?
I was a teenager, so it wasn't I was probably about the same age Lulu Wang is in the, or I guess she's a bit older.
But like when her own grandfather died in the
like I was a young adult, like university age. But yeah, and it's so interesting because like I was born and raised in North America, and you're kind of just like, death is scary, death is terrifying, nobody likes to talk about it, but in Chinese culture it's just like it's there, it's a thing, and it's not
they don't want to tell someone they're dying.
Yeah, it's true, but they also don't like it. That's the thing, it's like part of not making it a big deal, right? Like it's like my grandparents had bought their their plots to be buried in, like,
Yeah.
20 years before they needed them. Like, it's like dealing with the process of dying is just something that you do. And it's not like a, you know, like, I feel like if when we come to do that in our lives, it's going to be like sad and depressing and scary, or, you know, like, that's like dealing with that's what I think all those things are going to be like. But when I think of the way my grandparents dealt with it, or the way I saw them dealt with it, it was just very matter of fact. Like, I bought this burial plot here just so you guys know, you know, like, my affairs are all in order,
All paid off.
it's all done. Like, we don't have to really.
Well, in keeping with this theme of North American individuality all the time, I heard this expression years ago, which is that you die the way you lived, and that I found is true. All the people I've known around me who have died have very much their death. Like, my father lied a lot, and so when he died, he just was like always thinking he was going to get better. Always. And everybody went along with that. That's fantastic. You're going to you'll be out of here next week. You know, that was the ruse we all kept up the whole time until he was dead. Like, nobody ever talked about it. It was never, ever well, it's been good knowing you. He wanted nothing to do with any speeches, anything. And he pretty much ran away from everything when I was alive, too. So that was how I have experienced it. But it sounds like what you're explaining is much more of there's a collective understanding.
Yeah.
And like a cultural custom
Yeah.
around, like, well, that's we're getting ahead of ourselves, but when they go to the graveyard to, like, talk to their grandfather, and they, like, have that whole tradition of, like, going before the wedding to, like, honor the past relatives. I thought that was amazing. Like, I honestly, and that's actually, like, frankly, very frank addressing of, like, because otherwise it's just sort of holes in your life, like these people that used to take up space that have vanished. And that's why we talk about, like, feeling empty all the time, you know,
Yes.
like, after a death. And this idea of going to this graveyard together as part of the wedding planning of a event, and, like, paying your respects to past people, and, like, spending time together, and, like, having that sort of family activity. What an amazing, wonderful experience. Like, I was really, that's one of the parts of the movie that, like, moved me the most.
Yeah.
I just loved it so much.
But speaking of jokes, I love the, he didn't smoke. Yeah. Yes, he did. He quit. No, he didn't. Let him have a cigarette. I thought that was my...
Well, we didn't read about the
Yeah,
synopsis.
we didn't. Okay, so you do that.
Okay. The farewell begins with the words, based on an actual lie, which is a pretty funny way to present a true story of how the Chinese-American filmmaker's family decided to spare their grandmother a terminal diagnosis. They don't want to spoil the limited time she has left, and so they conspire to carry on as if everything's normal, except that each of them is saddened by the news, and so they engineer a plan to throw a fake wedding celebration for one of her grandsons in China, allowing everyone to say their goodbyes together. And so what began as a small lie, a good lie, in the doctor's words, snowballs into a much more elaborate deception. Variety did a great job writing that synopsis. It's wonderful. And I just love the idea of, like, giving your dying grandmother a family wedding as a sort of way to, like, occupy her final days and give her what she wants.
Because you seem to really enjoy planning a wedding, which is, I guess, as much fun as a funeral.
Yeah, I mean, for a matriarch of a Chinese family, that's
it.
the
Like,
best
that's
thing.
the best
yeah,
thing.
wedding of your grandchildren, or that's the ultimate. You can't make a grandma happier than that.
Now, one of the things, like, I kept saying, all the reviews I kept reading said that everyone was hungry in it, after they came out.
I mean, it did all look delicious. And I do love the idea. Like, I feel like food is, and sharing food is, like, at the heart of, like, a lot of family experiences. And I just loved seeing everyone come together in, like, all these different iterations, like, both, like, at home and at restaurants, and, like, the conversations you can and can't have in front of your family, and sort of, like, tiptoeing around this whole idea of, Billy being so vehemently against just like the deception and like deceiving her grandma whom she loved so much. And I don't know, I really loved watching everyone come together, and like every family member is so distinctly drawn, and like each character is so beautifully developed. We know them very well, like in these small meaningful ways, like really quickly. I really love that so much. And yes, I was hungry, even though I don't really like noodles that much.
Oh,
there were a lot of noodles. I really left feeling quite hungry.
I felt noodles and chicken. I could just there was so much chicken.
Oh, delicious.
I know.
Delicious chicken.
But I digress, because we're taping right around dinner time. So that's might have fed into this, if you will. So this is Lulu Lang's second film?
Yeah, second film she ever made.
I'm blown away that.
Yeah.
Like it's so beautiful.
Yeah, and it's so confident and so like knows where it's going. I never felt bored. You know, I'm always... if I have to look at my watch once in a movie.
It sped by.
It was was short, though. Isn't it a shorter?
It's an hour and a half. But
Yeah.
like, I was just like, wow, there's like not even a moment that lags. Like almost every film to me has a moment that lags. Yeah. And this movie does not. It just keeps going in this like really great, wonderful, intimate way.
Yeah.
And I really loved how, like, she's kind of a new filmmaker, but she didn't feel pressured to hit any of the sort of stereotype story points. Like, like she allowed the main character to just be a person that didn't have a love interest in the movie.
Yes.
And that's kind of amazing, because usually, there's a formula. And I can imagine if you're just starting out as a filmmaker, you kind of want to try to adhere to some kind of things that have been successful in the past. And it was really refreshing to see her just like throw those things by the wayside.
Yeah, it's kind of funny to think about, because the new trailer for Little Women came out, a new version, the Greta Gerwig, and she says, I want to be a writer, and he says, well, if there's a girl in it, you better have her married by the end of the book.
Yeah.
And I thought I don't think that's ended.
It hasn't ended.
No.
And that's why, like, yeah, you're right. Like, this feels so refreshing that she just gets to have a story that is not about a man or a love interest.
Or because, like, someone pointed out that the movie in someone else's hands could have easily been about her own wedding, or her staging her wedding, right?
Yeah, because they didn't have to stay close to the truth. Like, I mean, if it had sold to anybody else, or, like, somebody else had gotten their hands on it, or if, like, and there are so many situations where, like, especially, like, young writers and, like, young women writers, and I would imagine particularly young racialized women writers, have their stories sort of wrested out of their hands by people who are like, we know the business, sweetie.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly.
Which, so gross. And to, like, see her be able to, like, have all the control?
Yeah.
How exciting is that?
Yeah. No, it was great. And I already thought Awkwafina had acting chops. We've seen her in a couple of movies. But she got to move into the drama phase really quick of her career. You know how people are always like, I got to do a drama.
Yeah.
You know, like Will Ferrell, you don't got to do a drama. Go back and skate. But I thought she did a really great job.
Yeah, it was amazing. Like, I was I wasn't sure what to expect. I was hoping that she would be amazing, and she was. But I was also prepared for it to be kind of uneven, because you feel like she's such a star as a comedic actress in the things that we've seen. And
in Crazy Rich Asians, she was like so over the top.
Yeah.
It was almost like it was hard to imagine.
You feel like that's her strength.
Yeah.
And you're like, oh, I wonder what this is going to look like when she tries this really serious role.
And the persona that she had presented for a few years, like as a comedian and as like sort of rapper. Like, I mean, there's been an outsized Awkwafina presented to us from the very beginning. So to see her in this like really just kind of like raw, vulnerable space, and like all of her instincts are so good. Mm-hmm. Like, I know she had a good director, but again, a director who it's only your second film and your star has never done a dramatic role before, and you're working with like a cast that is relatively unknown in North America. Like, this is like a real sort of like kind of, I don't know, like it's the kind of movie that like you're like, it can be done right.
Yeah.
You just need to like let people like live their vision.
Yeah, exactly.
Awkwafina, I think the part that killed me the most, I mean, there's many parts that killed me the most, but like just even like listening to her, like having her conversations like over the phone with her grandma were so lovely. Like just like those sort of, you know, because she like imagining this character who left China when she was really young, but has like this deep connection to her grandmother. She's only seen her maybe a few times since then. Like it's really expensive.
I got the
to go
impression
back.
though from the beginning that they speak on the phone a lot.
Well, that's the thing. I feel like they speak every day, and
Yeah.
like that you get that like immediately. Like you get that they have a shorthand, and you get that they are checking in with each other all the time, and that you know that whole thing of like being able to still feel like you have a family after immigrating, like you aren't separated beyond like a geographical distance. Like you are still able to feel like emotionally connected, and that you live in each other's lives in this sort of digital lens. What a wonderful like thing to feel represented in a movie. Like because when they actually do come together and they share like a physical like a screen together, it's so like it's just like they are best friends.
It's so sad because when you have that a grandparent like you do, you're very close.
Very close.
Very
to my
close.
grandma.
Yeah. And when you do have that, and I had that with my grandma, it's not like the relationship with your parents. It's just not.
No.
Yeah. It's a completely different relationship.
Yeah.
And it's almost like a safe place where people won't judge you. You can be yourself.
If you're lucky.
If you're lucky.
Yeah.
Well,
yeah.
If it's a good, if
Yeah,
you
yeah,
have that
yeah.
good, that's what
Yeah,
you get. And it's so, and so I think that for a lot of us who could relate to that, it was really so sad to think of her. Like, and
my
also
God.
we knew, like in terms of the title of this, based on an actual lie.
Yeah.
I mean, we know that Billy is carrying a huge secret that she didn't get in to get her fellowship.
Yeah.
So it's kind of an interesting layers of how much everybody is keeping from each other, which I also really liked a lot because I thought it's just not that one.
Yeah, no, there's a lot of lies I think happening.
Yeah, a lot of the wedding is fake for one. Well, I mean,
But is it fake? Like,
Well,
don't
or-
they get married? They seem like they get married.
they do, I guess.
Yeah.
I guess they're only
They do
together
get
just like
married.
quite early though, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
they've only been dating a few months.
Like
Yeah.
3 months.
Yeah.
His face was always just, I can't believe this is happening to
What
me.
a genius face! Like whoever
Yeah.
did the casting for that role
Yeah.
of the cousin, the groom cousin. Oh my God, how brilliant! Like, and honestly, and then when the uncle just breaks down and cries, or like his whole speech. Oh my God! See, now I'm gonna cry.
Oh,
It's
boy.
okay, I'm fine. But like, it was just so beautiful, and that was like, I mean, I had already been crying a lot through the film, but then like to just watch this man like have this like literal break on stage, and then to like and let the camera sit in that discomfort. Like, because it doesn't break away. It just watches him. It shows the family a little bit, then it comes back to him. And the whole room lets him stay in this state. Because they're all feeling it, too. Like, most of them all know the truth. And only the grandmother and the mother is like, well, you know, I've always had a sensitive boy. Like,
Yeah,
it's
yeah, yeah.
And it's just, and just to, like, see sort of these different, like just this like different relationship to masculinity as well in that moment is really lovely. Like I thought, and especially because like normally like an uncle role is kind of a throwaway, or like the uncle is like a weirdo, or just like, you know, he seemed kind of stern at first because he was like kind of constantly lecturing Billy about like how she doesn't understand like the custom and the Chinese way of doing things. She's been away too long. Even though he lives in Japan, he doesn't live there anymore. Like, just to have him have this moment, I loved it so much because it gives every character a chance to have, like, at least one moment of, like, where their interior really shines through.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Now I'm going to be all salty for the whole time.
Yeah, don't
I have, like,
be all-
makeup in my eyes.
So what were you like? What were you going through watching this? Like, what were your like? Were you having like emotional highs, and lows, or?
I mean, when I was reading there's a writer, Emily Yoshida from Vulture. Who I love her writing. I follow her on Twitter. She's a great cultural critic. She's a great movie reviewer. But she kind of talks about, like, and one thing I'll just read. The narrative and visual thread that runs through The Farewell is collectivism, a particularly Eastern concept that immigrant kids tend to have to relearn at some point in their lives. Like, that line just resonated with me so much, because there was a point when, you know, like, I was 19 and my grandfather sent me to Taiwan for the summer it's a thing called the Love Boat. And it's because, like, overseas Chinese from North America go to this summer camp in Taiwan where they kind of meet other Chinese kids. And it's called the Love Boat because there's, like, a lot of hookups there, and Chinese parents, like,
They want you to have hookups?
well, Chinese parents want you to marry, like, their ideal is for you to find a nice Chinese boy or girl to settle down with. And so, like, that's kind of the idea, is, like, there's, like, a huge mixture, but also learning about your culture. Like, like, officially it is a cultural trip to Taiwan. It's not like it's expressly
hookup
like
time
a
or something.
No, I
Yeah.
want to hear about your hookups first, and then your cultural experiences after.
We're not,
we want
blah, blah,
hookups
blah,
first, and then culture. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, unfortunately I have no stories on that front. I was, and that's part of, like, you know, why this resonated with me so much, is because when I went back, it was like, after this, you know, 19 years of growing up in North America, believing I'm an individual and, like, my hopes and dreams matter, and just going there and just being with, like, thousands of kids, like, sleeping on futons side by side, and you just realize you're just, like, one in a sea of people. And it was just like I can't even really I haven't processed it fully, I don't think, but it was really hard. Like, it was really hard to grapple with when I was there, because, like, I couldn't make any choices for myself. It was like, you're assigned to this group A. We've decided your whole schedule. We play a bugle alarm over the intercom system at 6 a.m. You shower at 6:30 a.m. until this time. You have breakfast at this time.
Wow.
It's like boot camp or something.
Yeah, and it's like, I can't leave. I don't have, like...
Plus, you're probably very homesick.
And I was, like, far away from my parents.
Oh.
And at the time, it was, like, before cell phones were common. And so, like, I had no contact with my family, really, because it was, like, I would phone them once in a while. But, like, in those days, like, when you phoned your parents from overseas, it would just be, like, a 5-minute, like, yeah, I'm fine. Everything's great.
Yeah,
it's whatever. And it was just, like, you know, I remember it being so hard for the first few weeks, because it was, like, I'm not an individual. I'm just, like...
You had a concept of that? Were you feeling that?
Well,
like,
yeah, we went, because, like, they had all these... It took a long time to sort of understand what it was about, but, like, they would take you to lectures at universities where they would talk about, you know, like, we're not Chinese Canadians, we're overseas Chinese from Canada. And, you know, like, this idea that all Chinese people are, like, eventually... Like, you know, there's this concept of one China where Hong Kong and Taiwan and China, like, all reunite someday, and all Chinese people return to China. And, you know, like, it had never entered my mind as an idea before. And it was just like, it was just, like, so, like, life-changing to sort of, like, hear this, like, people talk about it and understand that, like, it's like this big idea of, like, not about you being an individual, it's about you bringing your talents to this, like, your talents and skills and things you learn overseas back to China to help, like, Chinese people. And
Fascinating.
Yeah.
So I can see it worked.
Well, what was it then like? I mean, obviously you would identify with Billy, like, sort of, you know, in a lot of ways in the film, but, like, what was it?
Yeah.
What was it like to sort of, like, then spend time with, like, within that family and try and figure out, like, you know, just, and I mean, you know, your grandparents have both passed, like, your grandfather apparently sent you on this trip. Did you hate him? Were you okay with it? Like, did you make peace with that?
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting because I do remember him, like, part of the thing he said to me before I left is this, like, you know, he's sending me there because I'm not Chinese enough. Like, I didn't.
Yeah.
and I didn't really fully understand what that meant until I went there.
Yeah.
And it's like, it is this kind of completely crazy thing where you enter a society and then all of a sudden I'm just like on the street with like a million other people who all have like they're the same height as me. They kind of like, you know, everyone has black hair, like everyone looks like me, and you just have this feeling of like melting into a sea of people. And you kind of, it just like, it changes you.
But it also must feel like a little bit comforting because we saw Billy do that in the story. She's like, I'm going to stay and take care of grandma.
Yeah.
You know, you could see her say, that's a lot of that whole fellowships, and here I'll know what to do. Like, I'll know the steps, I'll know, even though they were like, no, you shouldn't be doing this.
Yeah,
but,
like you.
Because you'll probably regret that. But it must felt comforting.
Yeah, it does. And you get used to it. And you get used to just being part of a beehive kind of thing. And I remember even though I wasn't there for a super long time, I remember coming back to Canada and just feeling like there's so much space and like so quiet and so like, I don't know, I was really like, in this weird, like my sister tells me to this day, like I was a different person when I came back. Like because she could, like, I lived with my family at that time. So like, she was like, yeah, you were different.
Wow.
Did you feel different?
Yeah.
Well, I had felt like I had really gone through like the ringer in terms of like my personality being broken down into like just not place emphasis on my personal like, you know, hopes and dreams and plans for what I wanted to do.
There is something I think that is like actually like really important about that. Like I just when I was writing the Buffy bio, like we talked a lot about like thinking 7 generations ahead. Like, you know, you're thinking about what's going to happen to that 7th generation that's ahead of you. And that's what you are supposed to be like, you know, sort of as part of, you know, indigeneity is like really thinking about that. And I know particularly as like, again, like a white settler with very little like sort of cultural practice of any kind and really sort of just having to stumble into my own and figure things out. I know being part of my family is like, I mean, it's really important to me to like lose that. I mean, I would argue, yes, I have a very strong sense of individual responsibility to myself and who I am as a person, but I feel part of an ecosystem on so many levels. And I feel like you can see sort of where people have fractured away from that as if there's not like a greater responsibility to just be good to other people, be good to the world, be good to like different and contributes, I guess sometimes. Like, I don't know. There's something that's really, there was something that was like a very, that I could identify with in sort of like watching her return home to her family, watch her family sort of pull together to do this thing, even though there's a lot of like, there's lots of little fights, there's lots of little sort of fractures within their family, like, and just sort of be part of something that is for a greater good that you can all sort of identify. Or just even, I'm like super broadly, all of us being against Nazis. I miss when most of us were against Nazis. Like, that would have been great. Still am too.
Yeah.
Yep.
I continue that.
Firmly against Nazis.
Do we have to identify our stance on Nazis?
Apparently now, yes. Yes.
I guess for the record, I'm
for the
against
record.
Nazis.
For the record, all against
when you
Nazis.
think of me.
Yes. I just, like, but that's, like, so wild to me that, like, anyway, whatever. That's a whole other conversation. The farewell made me feel like I was part of something, and I really appreciated that.
I really also, I think that where, timing-wise, where she put that scene where the uncle is explaining we take the burden. Like, she doesn't have to think about it.
Yeah.
We take it on. It's us that know it. And I just thought that was so beautiful.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And then it just became, and I wondered if she put it there, because that could have been at the beginning. But I wondered if she was thinking about in terms of how you as a viewer were kind of be like, this is crazy. What kind of crackpot idea? You know, and then when he explains it that way, you just go, oh, that is so beautiful and selfless.
Well, because Billy is the viewer, right? Like, I mean, in a lot of levels,
we're with her on this journey.
Yeah,
Yes,
and
exactly.
so I think you have to sort of like see her go through, just continuing to think that she's right.
Yes,
you know, and I think that that's a really like powerful thing, and to sort of see her come around like at least a little bit. I don't know that she ever thinks like, okay, for sure, I'm not wrong. Like,
she still has. I mean, let's be honest. She's still portraying a sulky millennial, right? I mean,
I love sulky millennials.
But that's, you know what I mean? Like at the beginning, and she's kind of schlepping about, and then, you know, coming home to do her laundry still. And you know what I mean? She's an artist of some sort, which we're not really entirely sure what. And then she just gave up on the piano because it was too much work or something, right? And you can see, well, I mean...
that was not my interpretation of why she gave up on the piano.
Well, no, but there were other reasons. But there was
like, it's because she has to go sit in a white church and play the piano only there.
But no, but it was important to her family if she had kept it up, though. But anyway, it was just that you could the person she was playing in that tension, that it was really smart. Like you could feel that, you know, her what that girl is in North America. You know, and she just needs a couple of months in Taiwan and.
The Love Boat? Is that
the Love Boat?
Still,
it isn't still.
I was like, it's still not a real thing, or it was a real.
Oh,
thing.
it's over. There's no.
Well, I think it stopped. It went for like 30 years.
Wow, like America's Funniest Home Videos.
Yeah, it had a sort of similar run. There's the tie-in.
Look, there's the tie-in. There's the tie-in.
I kind of wanted to go back to the thing you read at the top with that quote about Chinese people have a saying, when people get cancer, they die. But it is that thing. Like, did you, either of you, have a really long, hard think about, you know, the value of not telling someone that they're dying?
Well, that's when he said that. That's when it occurred to me that was like that we're the ones that will hold that for you. But
that's what that saying is about, right? Like, it's not the cancer that kills you. It's the fear of cancer that kills you.
Yeah.
It's the stress and the fear that you go through.
Mm-hmm.
I personally, I'm too much of a control freak. I would want to be told. I would want to know. I would want to be able to do the things that I need to do. Like I like, for me personally, I would want to know. But I think I appreciate the idea that like everyone should be able to decide for themselves. Like that, like, so if you tell me, you know what, just 20 years down the line, if you find out that I'm dying, don't tell me. I'm like, cool, I gotcha. Like, it feels, but again, that's like an individualism versus a collective.
Yeah.
I understand that,
Well, I know, because it's just like, instinctively, of course, all of us are like, yeah, I'd want to know immediately if I had been diagnosed with a terminal disease.
I don't think everyone would say, yeah, they
No,
want
I
to know.
don't think so. I don't know.
Like, I was like, Lisa, would you want to know?
I don't know. I guess I'd be. It depends on like what my prognosis was. If I'm gonna have to like spend the next 2 months in the hospital, I might be curious. Why am I here? But I mean, I do. Like I play tricks on myself. Like if I can't sleep at night, one of my tricks is that I never look at the clock, because then I won't know how little sleep I got. Mm-hmm. So I can't know, and that helps me. Because if I can say, oh, I know I only got an hour.
Then you're like stewing about that.
Then as you say, I'm more worried about the fact rather than how I feel.
Yeah.
Because I don't know. So there are lots of ways I like to just stay ignorant, for sure. Mm-hmm. But that's a big one that would also, I don't know, here's another thing. Is there like bucket lists in Chinese culture?
No, I think that's a North American.
Yeah, exactly. So, I mean, of course, as a North American, I would all of a sudden go, well, what do I need to get done? Mm-hmm. You know, what sorts of weird trips and meals have I not experienced? You know, like that's a big part of that individual, this, you know, thing. So I don't know.
Well, part of me has always really, and I don't know if this happens to everyone, but for me, you know, when the fact that my dad died, you know, pretty suddenly when I was 17, I have since then lived my life, and wrong or right, as if like every day literally could be like that I just die. And I'm like constantly thinking, yeah, I might not wake up. Who knows? That sounds bleak, but that is literally what I think about like all the time. And so
it's a Tim McGraw song. So,
is it? Yeah.
Live like you are dying.
Live like I am dying. Trace. What about the other song, Honky Tonk Badonkadonk? What about, is that? Can I live like that as well?
You live any way you want.
Yeah. No. But I just like the thing that like sort of the way that I think about that in relation to sort of like things I do. Like, I try not to, like, I literally try just not to, like, have long-standing fights with people that I don't resolve. I try to, like, always make sure that, like, you know, I sort of think about what I'm grateful for every day. Like, I do spend a lot of my time literally daily making peace with my life and making sure that I have been as happy as humanly possible. And that's maybe not the healthiest thing. Like, I probably extra need to get a therapist. But it also makes me feel...
I think after people listening for this many years of the podcast, I think we all need serious therapy. So
well,
it's fine.
Everyone needs serious therapy. Like, let's just...
I thought this podcast was
this podcast is
this
serious
is,
therapy.
This is our talk therapy.
Talk
here.
therapy
Yes.
here, yeah. But I just do, like, sort of think about that all the time, and that's why I try to, like, do work I believe in, and I try to, like, do these different things all the time. Like, I don't know. That's just the way that I sort of conduct myself.
Mm-hmm. But it's also, you know, like, it's different if you're elderly, and you figure, like, when we're old and you're gonna die of something.
Yep.
Is it better to just not know and then have it happen?
Science is making great leaps and bounds with things. I mean, we don't know.
Yeah, but I mean, is it better to just have it happen and not, you know, and not expect it?
The thing is, I've seen people plan and I've seen people just die suddenly, and the thing of it doesn't, I don't think it makes the biggest difference to them. It's usually the people that are left behind.
Yeah.
Because...
which this movie is speaking about, right? Because the people left behind, or, I mean, she's still alive.
She's... yeah, spoiler for anybody who hasn't seen this film.
Sorry.
It's a really beautiful thing at the end, which is that you know...
That's really her, too, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, her real grandmother,
and so it's like a incredible, wonderful, like, gift at the end of the film, which is another place I burst into tears, was just like, oh my God, she's still alive. You know, like, it's just, and because, things go wrong, things are, so obviously she knows now.
No, she doesn't. She hasn't.
She hasn't seen the movie?
No.
They're not going to tell her about the movie?
No.
So her daughter's not...
She just knows
her
that
granddaughter
her granddaughter made
a
movie.
Oh.
But she hasn't seen it.
Wow. That's a whole other... And they're all keeping that...
And furthermore, they shot it in her hometown where her grandma lives. And it was a thing where she was like... the cast and crew could not... Like, her grandmother came on set. And the cast and crew could not talk about the movie or what they were doing, or, like, they had to hide some of the things that said, like, Nene on it. And, like, they kept it from her.
We are all complicit in this deception
now.
It is
so if we happen to meet her and she says, "Did you see my?"
I don't know if she's a Pop This listener.
Yeah,
so.
did you see my granddaughter's film? We all have to go. Maybe.
We can say yes, but we can't say.
What's it about?
Cool, you're still alive.
Yeah.
That's how we can't answer her.
Yes.
We just be like, yes, we saw her film. It was great. That's phenomenal.
But isn't it, like, I mean, the thing you think at the end is, like, isn't it better for her to have had these 6 years kind of stress-free and not, like,
100%. No, like, I completely...
She doesn't strike me as a vengeful person,
but
like you said, needed
fearing death.
Yeah,
yeah.
But some people, you know, like, think of, you know, other pop culture references. Think of, like, A Christmas Carol, right? We think of Ebenezer Scrooge had to have a lesson so he could start living his life properly. It wasn't like her grandmother needed that. So you're right. She didn't have to have a moment where, you know, you've been a rotten person. You might want to take some time out to become a good person. I mean, she was already...
She's not reconciling.
No, there's
behavior.
nothing for her to have to, like, get cleaned up or anything. Also, just quickly too, there was like some kind of, like, at that wedding, where grandma was like some kind of war hero too or something.
Yes.
Or what was...
Yeah.
Do you remember that?
Yes. Yeah. She sounded super cool.
Yeah.
Amazing.
Yeah, I was... also, can I just ask you about the wardrobe at the wedding?
What about it?
I've never been to a wedding in China, but there was quite a mix of some people in sweatpants and some people in quite the gowns.
Oh, yeah. I've never been to a wedding in China either. So, yeah, I was wondering that too. But the Chinese weddings in Vancouver that I've been to, no, everybody's...
I would imagine. Like most weddings I've been to, everyone's very dressed up. So,
Yeah.
But when I was watching this, I was
Maybe some people were like, you know what? It's fake wedding. Just putting on my sweatsuit.
No one cares. But they made such an effort with
I know.
Her dress and that photo shoot.
The photo shoot was great.
The photo shoot.
Honestly, it would be so liberating to know it was a fake wedding and to be able to wear, like, elasticized sweatpants to the this huge dinner that you're
Right?
gonna have.
Yeah.
Honestly.
And just be like comfortable and relaxed and able just to eat tons of food and not worry
You're
about.
going to be sitting for so many hours.
I know. What joy. Like,
If you
what
could
joy.
just, comfortable shoes and some sweats.
Yeah.
Okay, so unfortunately, we are coming close to the end. Might I
Our own
ask...
farewell?
Our own farewell, as it were. Might I ask for your final thoughts on what this movie means to you? Andrea Gin, as our guest and our producer, please.
Oh, I adore this film, and I think it's so hugely important. Like, Lulu Wang is going to be an important director of our times, and Awkwafina is going to be a great actress. And I just think this is like the sort of launching of two amazing careers. And so, yeah, it's one of my favorite movies that I've seen in a long time.
I'm here for this sort of director-muse relationship between Lulu Wang and Awkwafina. I hope that we set up with something like that. I'm here for them to rule the Oscars in like 2023. Can't wait.
I've heard 9-9 might be nominated, even though that was her very first movie too.
She was so great.
Yeah, I know.
She was so great.
Yeah.
I love this movie so much. I think it is like my favorite movie of the year so far. And I tweeted a little bit about this after I got out of the film, but like just the feeling of warmth of just hearing people audibly weeping in the audience, like all of us crying together. Oh, so good.
I really love a movie that is about family and isn't about some evil matriarch. Not that I don't mind those Meryl Streep roles.
Yeah.
But, because they're always fun.
Yeah.
Where it's
But
some Southern Gothic, and mom's complaining about everything.
But
and
it's not like a cynical,
dysfunctional.
dysfunctional
So
thing.
I just love a family movie where everyone is, like you said, has their own, personhood. They are who they are. They're part of this equation, and it's working out, and there's no one being judgy or hating anyone. I love a family movie that makes me just feel like, it's challenging being part of a family.
Yeah.
And especially when you are on such a divide of cultures, one to another, and how do you navigate that? But the fact that they managed to do that, and it was really beautiful, I like that.
I love it so much.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So it pops.
Yes.
Oh
Pops all
yeah.
around.
I also just loved being in this city, which I didn't know anything about, and I just love the feel of the place. I thought it felt like a big metaphor there.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I loved it so much. Well, hopefully we get more films. And also more films inspired by stories told on podcasts. We're waiting.
Yeah.
No, I'm kidding. The Pop This Film, 2025, guys. We love to leave our episodes on something we recommend. As our guest, Andrea Gin, would you like to go first?
I want to recommend a favorite artist of mine, Jay Som.
Jay Som's great.
New song out called Superbike. It's a dreamy, like, you should also watch the video that accompanies the song, because it kind of really helps set the mood and the tone. And on her first album, she recorded all the instruments herself, and she's a bit of a studio whiz, and so just like seeing her in that context kind of now in a bare studio that's not her bedroom, and I don't know, it's great to see her developing into an artist, and Superbike is an amazing song.
Yeah. Lisa?
I know we're taping after, like, this will come out a little bit later.
Yeah.
But if you watched the MTV VMAs.
Yep.
I was doing the other one.
No, I understand.
It was I think one of the worst rated
Yes.
of all of them.
The lowest rated, yep.
I do understand to a certain extent. There's a lot of award shows. They have kind of been disappointing.
Also, people don't have cable anymore.
People don't have cable anymore. That's almost one of the reasons that I have cable.
But
I've
watched the Lizzo clip like 100 times.
That's exactly what I was going to say.
Lizzo
So
and
two
the
things.
Missy Elliott.
Yes,
Oh my God.
two things. One, what's this, like, how we need new ways to measure things. So perhaps streams or a viral video is just as important. But I wanted to say that if you are having a bad day, watching the Lizzo clip once a day.
Yep.
It's only 3.5 minutes
Yep.
long. In terms of, we were discussing therapy early, you might not need it.
I went when I saw Lizzo perform in Vancouver, when her only show here. It was maybe my favorite show experience of all time ever. It was fantastic.
And the fact that she has caught on with so many different people from across the spectrum of everything.
Yep.
It has to be a good omen for our future.
Here's hoping.
I've been
Fingers
looking for
crossed.
one, so I'm going to go.
And also, like, a huge inflatable bouncing butt.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
I love it. I love it, honestly.
A
So
bejeweled
good.
tequila bottle. I mean, everything's there
Everything's
for
so
you.
good.
You don't need
Everything's so
anything.
good.
And now there's a really popular series of tweets that keeps going by, going, "I've got to get my life together. I can't disappoint Lizzo."
Yeah.
And if you're not loving yourself
Yep.
right now, she can tell, and she's angry.
Yeah.
She's like an oracle.
Yeah.
Do not upset the oracle.
Yeah. I will support this entirely.
Yes, so there.
I am going to recommend a band from Vancouver called Strange Breed. They are all queer, all female, garage rock kind of punk bands, feminist. They're great. I literally cannot tell you. Just run to go listen to them. They have a new album out on September 13th. This may come out before or after that. Who really knows? But I will say the new album is called Permanence, and you can go listen to any of their previous work. But their new album is going to come out, and it's great. And Strange Breed, feminist, queer, female, rock.
You should feel pretty empowered by the end of this episode, I gotta say.
You should feel empowered at the end of all our episodes.
Well,
Come
yeah,
on.
I just feel like in particular we've really knocked it home on this one.
Thank you, Andrea Gin. Would you like to...
Thanks for having me on.
Yeah, I mean, it's a real hard get. We try so hard all the time to get you on.
Yeah, exactly.
Squeeze
So
you
thanks for
in.
3 times now. So that's
Yeah,
great.
yeah.
I'm not even the most... we have guests that have been on way more times than me.
Yeah, you're not part of the
You're
sandwich club
selective.
yet.
You'll all
I'm
of a
never
sudden
gonna
you'll
get my sub.
And next week I'll be on, and we know it's a big deal.
Well, that's the thing. Like, yeah, we always try to get you on, and you play hard to get pretty
Yeah,
well.
that's exactly.
You can listen to, or you can hang with us on social media. Twitter, Facebook, Instagram. You could rate and review us.
Yes, and we are produced usually. No, we still will be. By
Yeah, it's
Andrea
still
Gin,
produced
but
by-
we do have a guest producer here.
Joseph Clark, my husband.
Thank you.
Good job watching the levels, Joe.
Yeah, you did great. Thumbs up? I can't see.
Yeah,
Thumbs up.
Hey, thumbs up. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Thanks.